Welcome to Group Dates and Hot Takes. I'm Sampy.
I'm Christy.
Let's talk about Married at First Sight. Well, it's a little hard to believe that we are already recapping episode 4 here, but here we are. Christy, we have 11 episodes left. Is that true?
I don't know what the final episode count will be. I just know it's been around 15, 16 or so in previous seasons.
That just seems like a lot of episodes for one season. Well, do you have anything from the world to talk about here? I mean, we always bring this up in our Bachelor podcasts, but I feel like there isn't usually quite so much drama outside of the show necessarily for Married at First Sight.
I mean, there's stuff with like previous seasons, but you wouldn't know who they are since you haven't watched.
I don't know who anybody is, so you're right. That's probably counterproductive. Well, let's get to it then.
Which couple do you want to talk about first?
Oh, I gotta talk about Kristen and Mitch.
Oh boy.
That just ends up being a total disaster, in my opinion, as always.
Well, Mitch continued, I don't even know what to call it, his lack of appreciation for the way Kristen was dressed. And so when she took off her makeup, he's like, I'm finally seeing you for the first time.
Yeah, he really kept leaning into that for sure, especially because we sort of pick up with these couples still their wedding night as their and can I just ask you this? Do they typically do this like hyper extended sort of, not necessarily montage, but it seems like they kind of drag things out, like with the night of the weddings or even during the weddings, where it's like you'll have a tiny bit of normal footage and then they'll have slow-mo for another bit, and then they'll have a little bit of regular footage, and then more slow-mo. That's pretty typical to Married at First Sight. Yeah,
they're just trying to create this romantic vibe, especially with like the dropping of the wedding dress, and it's just weird. It occurred to me as I was watching this season, like, why does the bride go into the bathroom to remove the wedding dress? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, you're married now. What are we hiding?
Right. Well, I think there's additional awkwardness there, being that they're strangers, and maybe a certain level of normal awkwardness there that can be hard to overcome, I think. Even, and I know we're not even talking about this couple yet, but a good example of that is when Miguel goes and pees in the other bathroom.
Yeah.
well, Lindy is getting ready for bed, and she's just in the bathroom doing her stuff. Like, she's not even going to the bathroom. She's just removing makeup or whatever it is she's doing. And he's like, I'm going to go pee in the other bathroom. So I think that's a little natural, perhaps, under the circumstances. It is a little strange to me. And the other thing that I wanted to ask you was sort of regarding that, what is going on with like the nudity or partial nudity? Because obviously we don't, like, this is on Lifetime, right? Like, they're not going to be showing nipples, presumably, but
no.
But there's a certain amount of stuff that even if we don't see it, the crew probably does. So how does that actually work? Because like on a television show, like that's scripted, there's obviously a lot of hoops and procedures that you have to jump through. And even, right, I remember us talking a little bit about stuff in that realm for, I think, Bachelor in Paradise in particular.
I mean, on Bachelor, remember the episode on, I think it was Tayshia's season, where the guys had to run back from whatever group date wearing absolutely nothing. So theoretically, the crew members saw that. So I guess on reality shows, sometimes that happens, but.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe the extent of it is just like the people. So like in this case, Mitch and Kristen, for example, would have to sign something being like, yeah, we're fine with it.
I mean, I don't think they stripped down.
No, they didn't. They weren't the couple who did.
I also think the camera crew leaves before, stuff really happens.
Except the shower scene that we'll talk about later. But yeah, the other thing that I was just kind of shaking my head at, and it may just be an amplification of the awkwardness, but they just really started leaning into the sort of cutesy type thing where she was calling him hubby and he was like wifey. And then the pinnacle of this for me was then, of course, when when he's saying same Z.
Yeah, he's trying
which has
too hard.
Which has a 41-year-old man. And I don't want to be too much of a gatekeeper here, but it was a little weird, particularly given how rigid Mitch has been as we've seen him so far, to just go from that incredibly rigid to just being like, hey, wifey, oh yeah. It was a little bit of a whiplash for me. And there was also, I don't know if you wanted to bring up the PJs or not.
Oh, yeah, she forgot her PJs. So that took up, I don't know,
an insane amount of time.
Yes, to focus on that. But
right. The thing that I found funny about it was just, because I guess she was, if she is to be believed, she wasn't planning on wearing like some crazy risque like lingerie or something, but it was more towards the sexy side. But he was like so happy that she didn't actually bring it, and that she was just wearing like whatever athletic, whatever you'd consider. I don't even know what you'd quantify what she ended up wearing, but like he was just so happy because that's the real her.
God forbid you wear something that's made of polyester or something.
No, I think is that the problem? And this is a little skipping ahead, but is that the problem he had with the shirt later? Was that it was polyester?
No, I think he just thought it was cheesy to wear the shirt that said hubby on it.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah.
But he did have a problem, however, with the plastic cups that they came the next morning with breakfast, but liked the paper straw. He just had to slide that in there.
Well, right. It's very important to him. He does say at some point, I believe it's during the brunch portion, that it is his religion.
Yes.
Those were his words. Yeah, he did not like having the plastic cups.
I wonder if a member of production sent that in just to screw with him.
Oh, I look. I wouldn't be surprised. We've talked a lot on these episodes of ours about sort of this scheming of producers, and I mean in the context of Married at First Sight, the whole like, well, do the experts really have these people's best interests at heart?
No.
Right? It's sort of and if our audience is familiar with this show, it feels a little bit sometimes like the show The Good Place, where it's like all this stuff is happening and you think, oh, this is great, and then you find out actually in reality that this is the bad place.
Yes.
Where like this stuff, the puppet masters are doing their puppet master thing.
Or like the Truman Show, anything that's like
right,
orchestrated
exactly.
behind the scenes.
And obviously in this context, these people are consenting to this process, but I do think, as you were saying, like there are those little things where they sort of twist the screws, or they kind of mess with things to elicit this type of reaction, because they obviously know all of the little triggers and little bugaboos, or whatever you want to call them, that affect these people. Are you surprised that Mitch is a picky eater?
Not in the least bit. Although the no creamy white sauce was interesting. So what is it? No mayonnaise or sour cream, or I don't remember what else.
Or like Alfredo sauce.
Oh,
I don't know. Seems like a little bit of a interesting distinction. He did say that he was just like a little bit of a picky eater. That is what I don't believe personally. I think he is way more of a picky eater.
Yeah, I mean, we only heard about the white sauces, so who knows what else.
Right. I did think it was a little strange that they separate everybody for the sort of opposite family and friends. I guess I was sort of envisioning like a big like group brunch sort of thing.
That could be interesting. I think they want the dynamic though of talking about the other person when they're not there, so they can actually say stuff.
Right. It's weird when you think about a normal.
Well, yes, this is not normal though. We need maximum drama. We need Lindy's brother asking about sex. Like that wouldn't happen if they were all together, I don't think.
Well, that's where I disagree with you. I think that he would bring it up no matter what. But yeah, I should probably stop comparing things that happen to like the normal the normal life that happens for a lot of people. It's just funny to me that everything has to be so segmented so they get the footage they need and they get the questions asked that they need to get asked, when it's like, well, theoretically you'd want everybody to get together, but no, that's not the case. How did you think this meeting went for Mitch?
I don't know. To start off with, I really wish the producers would retire the question, what are your intentions with my insert daughter, son, whatever. It's like, it doesn't make sense to be asking people this age that question. I feel like that's a question, like, I don't know, a stereotype of like a dad asking his daughter's 16-year-old boyfriend, like,
right. Or and that's the whole thing is the context of it. Not even necessarily like the age is weird too, but the context, because they're actually married.
Yeah, like you don't get a say now in what their intentions are.
Right, but also if we're gonna sort of assume more of a normal context, like you're married, the intention is to stay married if possible.
Yeah, that should be it.
Right? Yeah, it's a little strange there.
I mean, he also had to drive home again that he is not into the makeup and the heels and the wedding dress. Everything got better when she got rid of that stuff.
She seems more real without it.
Just Mitch.
It's just so funny to me how big of an issue he has with that.
And then this, I felt like, was like, okay, I can totally see how this is true, that his previous relationships didn't work out since he was a, quote, closet environmentalist.
I guess I don't totally understand what that means.
It means like his previous relationships, he was kind of maybe trying to fit in more mainstream, but meanwhile kind of like hiding like all of this like extremism with it. And maybe his previous girlfriend didn't like him pointing out plasticware everywhere. And so,
or maybe he didn't point it out because he thought that things would go poorly if he didn't, and then he felt all of this deep internal conflict. Perhaps, maybe
guilt.
Maybe that's what he means with that as well. But then he found himself in the end. Oh, and here we are today.
He jokes that he didn't want his bride to be a fossil fuel executive.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that would be the case for most normal people. Yeah, I do not see this ending well.
No, especially after Kristen meets with his family and they lay out a whole series of red flags about Mitch. He feels overwhelmed. Pride gets the better of him. He's brutally honest. He can be a jerk sometimes. There was basically nothing positive, they said.
Look, I'm sure there are some positives. They probably even cut some of that out.
True, to drive home the point.
Right. The big thing that I noticed was that when they were talking about how he's been overwhelmed with this process, I was like, yeah, 100%. Like this entire experience for me watching Mitch has just been me seeing a man, like that whole range of internal screaming gifs. Like that has been Mitch this entire time, and even had some moments where it was more external screaming, like with the haircut and everything. But I've just seen that he appears to be very stressed.
Yeah, he looks, high strung, constantly worried.
Right, because it's also just a huge difference in like life for him. I mean, he just keeps talking about how he had never been really in a particularly long-term relationship because he was afraid of commitment, and it's like, whoa, you're taking that guy and you're catapulting him right into marriage. I don't know how well this is gonna go.
And one last thing I had on them was that when the honeymoon basket arrives, it's just something they do every season. There was like some sort of popper thing that explodes confetti, and he had to mention.
No, he was not happy. He was like, "Oh no, why did you do that?
Trash in the ocean." And
yeah, you can't clean all that confetti up. Confetti is forever. Don't you know that?
Oh gosh, that must be so irritating to have someone complaining about that stuff all the time.
Wow. Okay, you need to get your priorities in order here. Okay, we cannot continue in our materialistic consumerist ways here when the world is burning down around us. Okay, you should be taking things more seriously. He did have a nice thing to say about her, though, so that was nice.
Oh, that she's assertive?
Yeah, because I don't know if I necessarily totally agreed with his assessment, because he was talking about he's more of like a go with the flow type person.
That is absolutely not true.
No, I think perhaps a better way to put it would be that he's maybe indecisive, but he is not go with the flow.
Yeah, I can't get on board with that statement.
Yeah. Is there anything else we should talk about with this couple before we...
No, I think that's all I had on them.
Excellent. I'm less confident in Lindy and Miguel now.
Yeah, Lindy's a little high-strung, more high-strung than I thought she was. She seemed fairly easygoing on the wedding day, but...
I love how she survived the wedding with seemingly minimal stress and issue, but it's the wedding night.
Well, more specifically,
Or the
missing PJs that took her out. Just like, you can just wear anything to bed. I wasn't sure why there was like a whole 35-minute search and panic for pajamas.
I know. I noted that as Lindy goes on an expedition searching for question mark. I mean, yeah, you literally, like, it's not that hard. Like, it could literally be anything. You could just go to bed in your underwear. You could steal a t-shirt from Miguel.
Yeah, like,
you could, like,
not that big of a deal.
No, I just think that this was maybe a manifestation and culmination, perhaps, of a lot of the stuff that had previously happened. And look, maybe we'll see going forward that this really is her personality. You know, it's entirely possible that that's the case. I just think that perhaps this is sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, I don't know if you've seen some of those videos. I think, like, the famous one is the YouTube clip of the guy who at the altar says waffly wedded wife.
Yes, I've seen that.
and the bride just absolutely loses her mind. Like, that's
stress coming out.
That exactly. So I don't want to make a definitive judgment here, because this may just be her personality, and I wouldn't be surprised either, just with the religious background that she comes from, and like all of those pieces tied into everything, like the sort of stress of trying to conform yourself to standards since you're a child. And like, I mean, I feel like we should definitely realize that, given who her brother is.
Oh dear.
Like,
yeah.
there's I think that definitely could be a part of it. I don't know how I necessarily feel about Miguel through this.
Well, I think it's a little unfair for her to like put all of that stress and spiraling onto Miguel as like his job to calm her down. That seems kind of like a lot to put on him, especially since they just met. Right.
I would definitely agree with that. I think that probably during Matt's season of The Bachelor, talked about things along this line. But yeah, of just like your partner is not there to fix you
Yeah.
or be a substitute for getting your life together or finding the help you need. But spouses definitely can be a good influence and a calming influence. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to get a good grasp of things when you've just accelerated. You've gone from 0 to like quantum travel here in terms of relationship scale. So yeah, I would say I think that they were both kind of being idiots a little bit, with just her sort of expecting that he's just going to make everything better and calm her down. It's like, if you can recognize that, like, he should do that, why not just, like, break the cycle yourself, as hard as that might be. But then also, on his side of things, I thought it was a bit uncharitable.
How so?
He was just constantly through this episode just talking about, oh, red flag.
Maybe. I don't know. It depends on... I mean, if she really spent 35 minutes spiraling about pajamas, I can understand him being a little like, whoa, like, what is she doing? I mean, who knows what else he saw as well, so...
Okay, well, here I guess you are looking more favorably upon Miguel so far than perhaps.
I mean, we saw just a short montage of that.
Can you imagine that? Like, I feel like if either of us were in Miguel's situation watching the other do that, I feel like both of us would just be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, we would have stopped that long before it got to that point.
I know, because I feel like, and here's maybe where I would agree with Lindy is, yeah, he's not responsible for regulating her emotions or all of that stuff, but and assuming that this didn't happen, assuming that he didn't do this, or like, because he could have done it, I guess, and just not been included in the montage. But I feel like at a certain point, you do need to step in if you're Miguel and just be like,
oh, you mean
these are your pajamas for tonight. This is the end of this.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Because even if he's not in charge of regulating her emotions, there's just a certain level of, when it gets to a certain point, this is also your fault. Right? Because if he's just lying in bed for 30 minutes as she's doing this, like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like, go over to her, pick her up, and place her in the bed. Oh, man.
Well,
so for me, these brunches, it was a lot on both sides for this couple for me.
Yes, that is. I thought it was just going to be, the nonsense of Lindy's brother, but there was some stuff with the other side as well. So,
well, let's walk us through
Miguel meets with her brother and mother. I think there might have been one other person there, but the mom kind of like drops this little nugget that she wants to know about sex. Which,
yeah, basically, are you gonna bring it up, or am I going to have to?
And so the brother jumps in, knight in shining armor here. It's like, I'll take one for the team, and starts off with this quote that I wrote at the top because it was in the previews. When you have sex with someone, you know them. Which, if you ever grew up with like Christian in the background,
in the Bible, that's what sex is. It's knowing.
Yes, and then he brings up that it's a covenant between man and God that has come together. There's a huge weight to it. Just straight up inserting himself into their sex life without being asked. I don't understand him.
Right.
Why is he doing this?
Because the producers told him
this is not his concern.
Right. And it's just a really weird and kind of awful time to evangelize.
Yes, especially since like Miguel has already said he's not into organized religion. So what is the point of being like, this is a covenant between man and God? Like, that means nothing to him.
Right. I mean, we've already established that he doesn't really believe in a higher power at all.
No, so he doesn't care about a covenant or her. Like, if he hasn't heard of that Bible verse before, he's probably like, what do you mean by that?
But even just the whole, like, you can't appeal to something for someone if they just have no conception or belief. Like, there's no common ground here. Like, that's the funniest / weirdest thing to me is, like, we've already established that he's not into organized religion, but really kind of based on what he was saying, like, it seemed like he was trying to put things a bit gently, and I don't think that he believes that like there's a God or like a higher power.
Yeah, he was trying to be tactful with it.
Right. So how do you that you can't, like, starting at sex is super important to God, and you got to take it super seriously, and like it's all this stuff. It's like there's no point to that because you have no common foundation whatsoever. You gotta start like way back before that, like before you get to this point.
Yeah, and also like they're already married, so green light. There's no like, none of that made any sense. The mom wanted them to wait to get to know each other. It's like, this is not a normal marriage. They're already past that point.
Yeah. I was
so inappropriate.
I was scratching my head here. It's like, okay, if you really want him to realign to your beliefs, you gotta like wait a hot sec to first of all see if they even survive this process, because chances are good that they won't. So why are you even wasting your breath on the one hand, and then also if you really are serious about all of this and like evangelizing them, and they do survive married at first sight, like you gotta start at the conversations of like, does God exist? Like, how do we know God? Like,
but still, even with all that, it's none of their business what goes on in their marriage. Like, that's between Lindy and Miguel.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, trying to like be like, oh, if you're going to like try to bring him into the fold, as it were, like, it's just a totally weird and awkward time to start, and just a totally like the wrong topic to start.
Yes, you don't start with sex.
No, that's real fun. And just when we thought it couldn't get any weirder,
yes, Lindy meets with Miguel's sister
again.
Yeah. And oh geez, I forgot about this. The sister starts off with astrological signs. I forget which two signs she said they were, but
they're not compatible.
No. It's like they're already married. Like, what What are we supposed to do now? And Lindy says she doesn't think that's very valid.
Yeah, I think, like, during the wedding with Miguel, I think that Lindy here was also trying to be tactful, because she was like, if you're talking sort of like stereotypes and like, yeah, like I don't know how valid that is.
I would not have been as gracious about that.
Look, some people really put a lot of stock into the astrological signs.
But even if that's so, that's something you say before they're married.
Well, maybe the sister hadn't found out what sign she was until after.
And then it got even worse. Because
it got way worse.
Then the sister asked, does Lindy have debt? And she said she does, which I guess I forgot. She's like a doctor, so she probably has.
Yeah, she's a physical therapist.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, that's a lot of education.
Yes, and then the sister's also like, well, Miguel makes good money, and she doesn't want Miguel to be financially burdened. So that was awkward.
It was awkward, especially since one, it's just a little weird to have a sibling be the one bringing that up, but also it's weird to me as well, the whole, oh, he makes good money, so you got to pull your weight.
Yeah, I mean, some people want there to be like a 50-50 type of thing. But still, that's none of her business. Once again, you're not inside their marriage.
Right, but look, Christy, I think you are disregarding an important fact here, which is we got to have an inside look at some of these high pressure, hot button issues that are going to be problems as we go forward in these relationships. We need to know these things as the audience.
Well, that is true. I do appreciate the inside look, but
yeah, it's just, I don't know. Obviously, different marriages are set up different ways. It's just a little weird to me to have it be so much of a concern in that context. Like, obviously you want a marriage to be set up well and financially strong and all of these things, and you don't want, like, I don't know, one person going out and like buying a sports car every 2 months when you can't afford it, or like whatever it is you want to quantify that as. It's just weird to me that it would be framed in such a way when, one, if you're a medical professional of any kind, you are going to have debt. That is like one of the most given constants in this universe. Unless you're like the most fabulously wealthy person beforehand, or like have a ridiculously wealthy family, I guess, like, you're gonna have those loans. You're gonna. I mean, it's so many years of education. Then you also just have the whole thing, like, if he makes good money, that's great. That makes things a lot easier, because then you have theoretically two great incomes to make sure everything balances every month, and those, the bills are paid and the student loans go down and all of that. Like, I get the protectiveness, but it's like when you get married, like, all of that sort of melds together.
Yeah, she does end up telling him later when they debrief that she has significant student debt, and he doesn't seem thrilled. He says he doesn't want to be a sugar daddy and wants her to pay them off in a timely manner.
Yeah, which is just, that to me was a little bit of a red flag for him. Red flag for Miguel, because I totally get maybe having a little bit of a different setup when you get married in this context, because it's like, well, we may not be married in 8 weeks, but past a certain point, you gotta be all in. Like,
yeah,
if my wife had a bunch of student loans, I wouldn't be like, well, you're on your own there. It'd be like, let's get those like paid off as soon as possible, and be debt free. There's just the theme here, it seemed to me, was like, it's so important to Miguel that his wife is motivated and a go-getter and doesn't have to rely on him. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got too.
Yeah, it's just there's just a huge amount of range between like being a sugar daddy for someone and just like paying everything for them and just like not caring about your spouse.
Yeah, he needs to find the balance for sure.
Yeah.
Should we move on to Stacia and Nate?
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like this started off a little bit on the wrong foot for me when he immediately claimed the left side of the bed without even consulting her at all. He's like, that's where I'm going to be.
I mean, I think that the left side of the bed is just real popular with men. I mean, my dad slept on the left side of the bed for like 37 years at least.
Well, at least you continue the tradition.
I always slept on the left side of the bed myself. You know, even with a big bed. But yeah, no, he that was very abrupt. He was like, "This is mine." And she's like, what? Oh, okay.
So the next morning we find out she didn't have her eyes open while she was sleeping.
Not that night.
I know. I was like, that's just one sample of one out of many.
That would be so freaky.
I know. That is a little creepy.
Oh, I also... I've been really on the fence here, because I'm not obviously the end all be all, and I have my own opinions that are different than other people's opinions, but I also feel like I'm a pretty good judge of like male attractiveness as well. And I just do not see it with Nate.
I think the issue is his hair.
I don't know. I think it's the face too. And maybe the bigger issue is the facial hair. Maybe that's what I keep seeing and having an issue with. It's just like I see like Miguel, I'm like, that's a good looking man. I see Ben, and I'm like, oh, that's a good looking man, even if you don't really like his haircut. You know, it's like, oh, these are pretty decent looking men. And I just see him, I'm like, I don't know. He just looks weird.
I think he is a good looking guy. It's just the hair, where somebody on Twitter called it 3 hairstyles in one. And I don't like the 3 braids sticking out at the back. Like they should have been split up more, or I don't know, just his hairstyle is weird. His facial hair is a little weird at the bottom.
It's really weird.
It starts further. I don't know.
I don't like that.
He needs to either shave or grow it all in, not this like in between.
I don't think he can grow it all in. That's probably why he.
Well, then he should shave. He should shave off the bottom then.
Oh boy, yeah. She just like keeps calling him a 10 and stuff. And
I feel like he's better looking than Justin, which you would probably disagree with. But
I mean, I think Justin looks weirder like facial structure. I don't know if I would agree with being more attractive.
Anyway, what do you think of this colorism discussion?
I thought that it was weird that they were having that discussion and not Justin and Alexa.
Well, Justin and Alexis appeared to be fully black. Like, maybe that's the wrong term. They're not mixed. So they wouldn't have the whole caught between black people and white people sort of dynamic.
Right. If I'm just saying, if we're thinking in terms of classic racism, TM.
Okay. Well,
that's where it's a little stranger to me, because like you always hear of like, oh, like lighter skinned people, or they're treated better, or they're like
treated better from some people. I mean, I'm sure Justin and Alexis have faced racism as well. It's just this was just a different kind of discussion.
Right. And as I've told you before, I just think it's a whole lot of nonsense. It's like, why are people giving a crap about what shade you turned out?
Yeah, I don't. The whole like black people not accepting you if you're mixed is really that's really bad.
Right. I mean, I've seen that sort of thing before, where it's like, well, I'm mixed, and the one half hates me and the other half hates me. It's like, who are these communities? Why is this so awful?
It really shouldn't be, but it's sad that this still exists.
Well, brunch.
Yeah, Nate, or actually Stacia meets with Nate's dad and his friend. There wasn't much here. Just mentioned that she's a workaholic. They're both independent.
Yeah, not surprised about the workaholic thing.
And then Nate meets with Stacia's mom and friend and sister, maybe, and they ask, is he willing to wait for sex? And of course he has to say he's willing to wait. Like, what else? You're not going to say no.
He's not willing to wait.
So then they talk about his business that went into bankruptcy. I'm not sure what business that was. And that he has some debt, and now he does day trading. Did you have anything you wanted to add about his day trading?
Well, he has a YouTube channel that I didn't go ahead and like watch all these videos, because let's be real, I have way more important things to do. I'm a very busy person, but I got a bit of a cringe vibe from it. Just sort of kind of finance bro, like this is my like day in the life of a day trader, and all these like very like trying to attention grabbing like titles of just trying to get you to click, and like 300 views.
Does he have a lot of subscribers?
Not a ton. I don't remember what his actual subscriber count was, but it seemed like around 300-400 views was pretty typical for video, which it is. That's not too bad. That's actually decently respectable. I just I think I saw too that he charges over a couple grand for like a one-on-one consultation in day trading.
Okay, so that's where he's making his money.
Which is just it's funny to me, because I have seen before that like how day traders make money is by telling people how to day trade. They don't actually make money day trading.
Wow.
Which we've talked about that a little bit before. Just like it's a little weird. Like, and I know he has a 9 to 5 doing, I forget what he does, but So I guess it's on the side, but I'm sure he doesn't probably do super well since day trading is very, very volatile. That's what I had to say about that. A little real life tidbit. Also, I did want to bring up as well along those lines. Stacia also has a YouTube channel.
Oh.
She's more popular than he is.
That makes sense.
I guess she does a lot of lifestyle makeup tutorials.
Okay.
Just is sort of a pretty wide range of things. I think she has like 5,000 or 6,000 subscribers.
That's pretty good.
So she's doing pretty well for herself. There you go.
Did you understand what he was talking about with like his Korean mom? I feel like I kind of didn't get that. Like one day they met up with her, but then they left and that was it.
Yeah, I didn't really understand what was going on there. Like I wasn't sure if it was like absent father sort of situation, or I don't know. It kind of tied back into what he was talking about earlier in the colorism discussion about like moving back to the States and all of that. So like, I don't know.
Well, it sounds like he was living with his dad then, because he said dad was in the military. They were in Greece and then some other country and then moved back here.
Right. So I think, and I probably followed this completely wrong, but I thought that like he and his dad and his mom had maybe met while he was stationed in Korea a long time ago, and then he like ended up being a bit of a military brat, and then I don't know, it was tough to follow.
Yeah.
But he did cry.
Yeah.
Which you gotta cry during the brunch to make them think that you are on the level. You gotta.
So later, after they have arrived at the honeymoon location, he lets us know that he wants to consummate the marriage on the honeymoon. And then they have this scene where he claims he wants to shower together just to save water, which Stacia rightly sees through that. But then, like, they start, like, making out and, like...
Look.
All over each other.
You're going to sit here with a straight face and call that making out?
Well, yes, they were making out, but they were also, like, all steamy together in the shower.
There was all this talk about, like they want it to be organic and they were going to wait, all this stuff. And then, like, I'm pretty sure they had sex there. Like, it was really...
We'll have to see next episode.
Like, his entire head was in her mouth. He, like, opened up like one of those cartoon lions, and his whole head went into her mouth. Okay? Like, they were just in the shower, and he, like lifted up her leg. It was real weird.
It was like we shouldn't be watching this kind of invasive,
That was the whole reason I brought up the question about like how these shows handle sexual stuff, because I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, yeah, they're literally having sex right now. Like not even like heavy like they're actually having penetrative sex right now.
I watched After Party and Nate was on there, and so they discussed this, and he said, yeah, we were just flowing in the moment. We had a couple of drinks. We got to know each other a little more. He did say that the camera people left before, like, I don't know, anything else happened or something. So
that was real awkward. Really, really awkward. Oh, man.
So, Alexis and Justin.
Mm-hmm. This for me, they're losing their shine a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I was never, like, really on board with them to start with, but...
Because you've never been able to get over his face. You gotta be.
It's
you
not
gotta be,
just his face.
You gotta be honest with us, Christy. This is all about his face, isn't it?
It's not all about his face. He's also just like awkward.
Yeah, a bit.
Also, what was this line about he wants to cuddle unless he's high?
Well, yeah, because they were in bed that night, and they're just.
He says so many weird things.
They're both real weird.
I think he
yeah,
takes
no, he's
the
like
cake.
he really wanted to cuddle, but he's like, unless I'm high, and they're just the like role play they did in this episode was really weird to me, because they had this like whole thing like in addition to like she just asked him like, do people say like ask like say they'd like to climb that tree? He's like, yeah they do. But then they had this whole like extended role play thing where he was coming on to her, but not as himself, her husband.
Oh yes,
but
like
as a
they,
random
if they were in
stranger.
a bar or something.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, I got somebody. He's like, oh, you got somebody. She's yeah. He's 6'6". They're like, however tall, 6'8". Is he 6'8"? Like, oh yeah, he's 6'8". You got one of those tall. You got a tree. Oh, it's so weird. They're just sitting in bed being idiots. Oh, that was so weird.
I find them uncomfortable to watch every time they're on screen.
Yeah, it's almost like they both end up trying to one up the other in terms of ridiculousness. Like, he'll do something ridiculous and then she'll just be like, and just like, very, very, very weird.
So she meets with his mom and I think a friend. And she starts off by saying, your son is still celibate.
Why?
You know, she probably figured they were going to ask anyway, but that was a weird thing to start with.
Yeah. Also, one thing that Mitch did do correctly is not reveal that he's been celibate for a while. Because if you recall, we did have an ITM with him where he was talking about how it's been a while, like probably the same time frame actually. I think he was talking to me, it's been like a year and a half, like I'm rusty. Did you hear him telling everybody and their cousin?
No.
I
guess that's one check mark for him.
One check mark. Yeah. I also felt like they being Alexis and Justin ended up putting too much emphasis on that it almost became this thing itself. It's like, oh no, we're still celibate. Well, we're still celibate. When it's just like, why are you trying so hard? Like on either side, like
I don't know.
Just go with the flow and have sex if you feel like it, and let that be it.
Yeah, there wasn't to me much else with the meeting of their friends and family.
No.
It's pretty standard stuff. I did notice that, I guess after the brunch, she went and got braids. But they were also very small, so she must have been in the chair all day.
Well, you don't want to have to interrupt your honeymoon to wash your hair.
No. At least not having to deal with it is nice. So.
No, I did want to mention the complete non-answer when Alexis asked about Justin's previous engagement. He's like, what happened with that? And his mom's just like, well, we were picking out the wedding dress, and then Justin was like, I'm sad. And that's like the extent of it. She didn't explain anything.
Like, who broke it off?
Well, I think he was the one who... Didn't she, like, cheat on him or something? Or wait, no, that's not true. It was... that was the situation where she wanted him to be a sugar daddy.
Oh.
So she probably broke it off with him in that case. But, yeah, there's just, like, no explanation at all.
Yeah, maybe they cut it out.
Maybe not.
So they learned that they are going to Mexico.
Oh yeah,
to the same place Bachelor in Paradise films. Not the same resort.
Same place.
Same city. It is Puerto Vallarta. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Lifetime has a slightly higher budget than...
Yes, they have a much better hotel than the Paradise people get.
Oh, those poor Paradise people, they literally just put them in shacks.
Literally. They're like straw huts.
Yeah, no electricity, no air conditioning.
No, there's crabs running all through in people's suitcases. Like, it's really bad.
Just a shack with like 2x4 bunk beds. Oh, the only time they get air conditioning is like the rose ceremony. But even then,
no,
actually, that's not even true.
No, that's not even AC. That's outdoors.
Right. Oh, okay, yeah, no,
it's miserable.
What a miserable time. No, this is slightly better. I mean, you have rooms with like a hot tub and big showers, like
for Nate and Stacia to get it on.
Yeah, no, they got it on for sure. So let's talk briefly about Morgan and Ben before we just generally talk about your first honeymoon impressions, just generally speaking. What do you think about Morgan and Ben? They finally get married.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of them so far because it's been so long since we had the intros for them that I just...
You don't remember?
Forgot.
Wow.
Most of that.
How dare you?
But yes, Morgan's dad won't be coming because he's not involved in her life. Also, I thought this was really funny. The gift Morgan got had Pastor Cal's Marriage Ain't for Punks book.
Ain't for pumps?
Punks.
Oh, punks.
It's just, I don't know. I found that funny, just the sort of product placement. And of course, she got the James Allen ring.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and let me tell you, this ring from JamesAllen.com in their signature JamesAllen.com red ring box was just so beautiful. I always recommend JamesAllen.com to all of my friends who are getting married.
I guess this is probably the last episode they get to advertise since...
I know. I bet they were real happy about that. They were like, oh yeah, we get another episode.
I wonder if that's why they didn't show their wedding last week, so they could get one more in.
I mean, I don't know. I think they maybe just wanted to keep a little bit more continuity, perhaps. But it is. I wonder if they went back and. Well, actually, I guess they wouldn't have because they had presumably made an agreement with James Allen previously to like, in terms of the advertising package. I mean, sorry, I know this is very boring, but I just talk about stuff. And yes, JamesAllen.com does not sponsor us in any way. I wish they would, because then we could make a little money from the podcast. But no, they don't. I just do that as a joke because I think it's funny.
It is funny.
Yeah, look. So far, I like Ben, but his relationship with his mom concerns me.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about the mama's boy thing. It seems a little excessive.
Right, he's like fully invested in that. He's like, the most important thing is that my mother approves. It's like, you're getting married, so I don't think that actually the most important thing is that your mother approves. I think perhaps the most important thing might be I don't know, keeping your marriage intact.
Well,
Being a good husband.
He will have to learn quick.
Oh, yeah.
Also, when she eventually walked down the aisle and she got to the end, I thought there was a whole lot of nervous energy happening there. She was super talkative. Because he started to shake her hand. She's like, no, don't shake my hand. Give me a hug. And then a couple seconds later, hold my hands.
Yeah, well, she didn't have any support there. She walked herself down the aisle.
Well, yes, because it was very important that nobody else give her away.
Right. She is independent. It's not, look, it's a positive thing. It's not that she doesn't have anybody in her life. It's that she has herself. That's actually what she said.
Yes, it is.
Which is, if you think about it, very depressing.
Yeah. I mean, being independent is fine, but I don't know.
No, absolutely.
Not if you're pushing everyone else away while you do it.
Right, and I'm not saying being independent is bad. It can be a good thing. It's just funny and also profoundly sad to me, the mental gymnastics.
Yeah, especially since it's your wedding day. That's the day when everyone's supposed to. I don't know,
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I think they're very happy for this brief moment. The fact that they both work out all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't understand people who work out 5 days a week. When are you sleeping? When are you eating delicious meals?
I don't know. It's not my thing, that's for sure.
I would be work out a couple days a week and then use all that extra time to have sex or something. I don't know.
That's also working out too.
Yeah. He actually, I guess maybe, well, it's not important, so we won't find out about it. But I thought that his mom would disapprove of her tattoos. We probably won't find that out, but he actually likes her tattoos because she has that big sleeve. Mm-hmm. I guess it's a koi fish in memory of her grandmother, because half of her family is from Japan.
Yeah.
It's just, I like tattoos. I've never really understood having a giant one.
I mean, people like what they like, I guess.
It's very true. They do. I don't want to talk about them anymore.
Yeah, we move on to all the couples except for them meeting up at the airport, and everybody meets each other, and no fireworks at this point. Everyone seems to be getting along.
Well, mostly. I mean, I think that Miguel continues to be concerned about Lindy's freaking out. I did.
Well, yes, I meant with the couples getting along with each other.
Right, because at this point everyone's converging. Mm-hmm. So remind me of this. So they converge for the honeymoon. After that, they go their separate ways, though, right?
Not exactly. They'll be meeting up with each other periodically throughout the episodes.
Okay, so this is
so
just
for dinner or to play games or whatever.
Well, I guess technically this is the second convergence because we had a convergence previously. It's interesting to see how everybody interacts with each other. I did want to mention, sort of going back to Miguel's red flags. I was laughing because Lindy was kind of freaking out about all the travel stuff, and she's like, yeah, I burn all my calories up here, pointing to her head.
He looked very worried when she said that.
He was like, oh no, because he keeps really, he wants this to just be a fate, everything's new and stressful. He's like, I just want this to be over, and she's like, no, I'm always overthinking and freaking out about things.
I also thought it was funny that like he's like, yeah, she's turned me down.
Yeah, that's...
Lindy still wants to take it slow, which is not surprising considering her upbringing.
No, or the circumstance that they find themselves in. Yeah. Justin swears a lot. They're having to constantly bleep him.
It's not always swear words. I don't think
sensitive topics.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Stacia says like it's hard waiting, and then Justin's like, "Tell me about it," which made me laugh so hard. And then Alexis decides to reveal again that Justin has been celibate. And then Justin just has to take it one step further and talk about how aroused he is in the morning. Goosebumps from head to toe. Another thing that didn't need to be said.
Describing it in graphic detail with all of it bleeped out.
Yeah, there was a lot of bleeping last episode that happened with him that it was also like sexual in nature. So I think it's not always curse words with him.
Right. I guess I should have specified not so much curse words, but or like swearing technically, but like graphic language.
Yeah.
He really likes to describe all that stuff in tiny detail. Yeah, why do you gotta be that way? Why do you gotta sit in front of all those people and just be like, yes, every morning. Well, I say every morning. It's been like one morning. He's like, yes, I just wake up in the morning and she's just teased me so much that I have a giant erection. Like, why? Why do we need to know that?
Because he can't stop talking about himself in that way. Remember, he started off the season doing that.
Right, that is true.
Talking about, like, girls think when they see he's so tall, asking about his package. Like, he seems to maybe because he's celibate, he's constantly just, the outlet is his words.
He's very sexually frustrated.
Yes.
I guess I don't understand this whole, just like waiting around. Especially since, like, I'm not convinced that Stacia wasn't just putting on an act there and be like, oh, it's so hard waiting. Like, I think they already did it. But
well, that was before the shower scene.
Oh, you're right, because that was on the honeymoon, not the first night. Okay, yeah. So, I don't know. You're married. If you're sexually frustrated, use it as an opportunity to, like, get close to each other. It just seems weird to me to put, like, I get having reservations or maybe wanting to do things a certain way. I just don't understand, like, putting an artificial, like, ceiling on it. You know, like, oh, we're not going to have sex till the end of the honeymoon or whatever. It's like, just go with the flow. Go with the flow. Don't overthink it so much. Like, I feel like Justin and Alexis really have a hard time going with the flow. In that case, like, I think, like, she's like, oh, do I want it? He's like, oh, I want it. And they're like, keep going back and forth. And it's just like, just either do or don't. Just stop telling me about it.
Yeah, he just needs to shut his mouth.
Uh-huh. Well, that's really all I have for the episode, besides just based on the previews, we may have rocky waves ahead. Yeah. Is that pretty much always the case?
Yes, they always end the wedding type or the wedding scenes with like a massive preview with everybody freaking out and drama and slamming doors and I'm leaving, this is over.
Oh, you're literally the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Yep, it's like, in case you thought these relationships had any chance of working out, here's some footage.
Oh, man. Wow. Well, that's episode 4, everyone. I will continue to say that I do think that this is a better show than The Bachelor. I do find myself a little irritated sometimes by how they edit it.
Yes, the editing is atrocious because they often repeat footage when they come back from commercial break that just aired right before the commercial break. It irritates me.
Well, they got to remind you.
But like we just saw it 4 minutes ago. That's so insulting.
Look, it's worked for them so far. Okay, you don't want to mess with the formula. That is funny though. Just thinking about the editing differences between the shows, because I think generally the content is better. Like I've talked about, like the stakes feel more real, where I can care about it a bit more. But I would say probably the editing is better in Bachelor Nation.
Yeah, I think so.
Come on, Lifetime. Hire some pros.
It's always been like this, though, all the seasons I've watched.
Like, and it may just be that's a very conscious choice that they've made, that is what they think works for the tone of the show and what they want to accomplish. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know all of that, because I don't. And obviously it's working. If we're watching the show, we're talking about the show, we're tweeting about the show, we're invested, and we're spending our precious moments on this earth that we have so few of reviewing the show. So it's working. It is working. How can people get in contact with us?
You can email us at groupdatespod@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram or Twitter at groupdatespodcast.
Oh, yeah. You've continued to live tweet?
Yep, live tweeted last night.
Excellent. I'm continuing to put all this stuff on YouTube. We are currently traveling over the last episode, this episode, the next couple episodes. So hopefully our production quality doesn't crater out into a giant thing of flame. Hopefully the amazing quality you've come to expect from Group Dates and Hot Takes can be preserved. And as always, find us, message us, leave us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. We do appreciate the engagement.